Hey guys, this is Jenna with Hill Valley Farm, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the heartbreak of kidding season. As I shared with you in the previous video, we had 44 kids born and 42 are on the ground still. So we ended up losing 2. Their issues, it's just part of it, really. And they were not related. It wasn't like anything really added up in genetics. It's just when you breed and kid out that many kids, that is going to happen. So also, along with the kid portion of it, when you breed as many does as we did, you do in the back of your mind know things can go wrong. Things may not turn out the way you had hoped, and some bad things can happen. And again, I have a friend, I've said this before because she said it before, Kaylin Hansen from Fable Hill Farm. She's on YouTube, look her up, she's amazing. But she has this saying, and it's so true: if you have livestock, you're also going to have dead stock. And so that's just part of the life that we have here. But in that, we share with you guys everything. We share the really, really great. And so it's necessary to show the really, really bad. And so we bred 20 does. That was insane. We've never done that. We've actually never even come close to that. But we had to see some udders on some does. We had 8 2-year-olds, hello. And so, obviously, I shared with you, Betty miscarried, so that was not great at all. And we went in a different direction, because when that happens and she's 2 years old, it's just everything gets behind. So we have moved Betty on. Betty is no longer here with us. She is so loved where she is. She has a beautiful life, and that's exactly what she deserved, because she just is the sweetest doe. And so we are in performance. We expect these does to work. We require it, because if they can't pull their weight in the milking season, I can't justify having them here. And if we were just a pet farm and hobby and all that, sure, she could have stayed. But that's not what we're doing in this season of our herd's existence. And so we did the best thing that we could, both for her, for our herd, and for us. And so we miss Betty. That was never in the equation. But that is, again, it's part of it. And that was not an easily made decision. And it was a very mature decision, actually made on Caden's part. And so I think he made the correct decision. And I didn't push him in either way, because it's his doe. He is a 17-year-old teenager who, he actually is very mature for his age, and his thought process is really spot on a lot of times with this herd. And so I think that deserves to be recognized. But that was, not ideal, not great. But as heartbreaking and as that was, it can never compare to the loss that we experienced. If you notice, I didn't talk about Vista Oaks. That's what she said in the last video. Kidding. Sheila ended up sadly passing on March 22nd, 2025. And it was sudden. It wasn't expected. It was just very odd. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what happened, because we don't have answers really at all. If you have been following us even since last fall, you'll know that Sheila was basically in the prime of her life. She looked phenomenal. She was probably the best looking doe that we had in our barn last year. She was amazing, phenomenal. In the prime of her life. I have some videos of her, you know, walking in the ring, pictures, and I am so glad I have those because I can share those with you all and you can see, which I know you already have, but you know, it can prove that she was truly one of the most beautiful does to grace our barn. She came to us a few years ago, and she came with a junior grand leg. So you have to have 3 in order to be a permanent champion. She earned her second leg the first year that we had her in 2023, we had her exactly a year. And so she earned a leg there, and then she earned a leg in a youth show last spring in 2024. However, the youth shows, you have to have 20 in milk to make sanction, and we had 18. And so we didn't make sanction. But so on paper, Sheila was never a permanent champion. But in our eyes, she really was. She was just absolutely stunning and beautiful. And so that's okay. We don't have it on paper. She had her milk star. She has 2 gorgeous, gorgeous does here. So 2 daughters to carry on her legacy. And we still have her sire here, Cedar View Excalibur. She had also improved her LA score significantly last year. In August, we were appraised with linear appraisal through ADGA. That's when you have an appraiser come and they look at your animals and they compare them with the most perfect goat, which doesn't exist. But she ended up scoring a VEEE 90. And before, I can't remember her number before, I want to say it was 86 or 87. And so even the appraiser ended up bringing her back and looking at her again. And I mean, her memory was on point. I mean, she was just so beautiful. It was like, oh, I loved her memory so much. She traveled to nationals with us. She did not make the cut, but she just represented us in such a beautiful way everywhere we went. And she was a doe that really gave Caden confidence when he walked in the ring with her. That was the whole point of her coming here. And she did exactly what I got her to do. And so that was phenomenal, though, the way she improved her LA score, because linear appraisal is not just it's not based on opinion, it's based on measurements and the conformation of the animal. And all those things come together to form a final score. And so to go from something that she was the year before and in just 1 year, less than a year, because that was October the first time and then August the second year. I mean, that was amazing. So when I say she was in her prime, she was truly in the prime of her life. At 6:30 that morning, I had the monitor on, and her cry woke me up. If you have goats, and if you've had them long and lost one, you may or may not have heard a goat cry. It is not a good sound. It is a sound that I equal with death, because that's basically what's happened every time I've heard that sound. We've lost the animal. And so I immediately came out here, checked her. She was foaming. She was acting like she was struggling breathing. She wasn't really herself. She wasn't neurological. She wasn't like walking in circles or had a funny gait. It was just she was struggling breathing mainly. I had no idea what was going on. I have a ton of milkers. I had to do chores, and so I went ahead and did chores. This was a Saturday. Well, Caden, I mentioned he's 17, and he has a life outside of here. He had a practice ACT that day. I did not tell him that I heard her on the monitor when I got him up. I let him go on to school to do the ACT and try to do his very best. And so I didn't want him to worry, because he wouldn't have done well at all if I had told him. He may not have even gone. And so we, meaning Craig and myself, loaded Sheila in my car and rushed her to our veterinarian. And she felt like her lung sounds weren't really there. Like, it was almost like they were blocked, like something was going on, and they didn't feel comfortable dealing with anything respiratory. So they sent me to UT with Sheila. That is the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Veterinarian School of Medicine. And so we got there, and they did their initial exam. And when she was in there in the back, before they ever came out, I told my husband, she acts like she's having an anaphylactic reaction, but there's no hives, and I don't feel any swelling, but I you know, it's a goat. I'm a human nurse. And so she really did act like anaphylactic, but I never said anything. I didn't, you know. The vet came out and with the tech, and they explained that her throat was very swollen, and they called it, quote, trauma. Trauma? How does our hay feeders, you can't get your head stuck. If someone hit you or headbutted you, they don't headbutt each other in the throat, the neck. I couldn't understand that we hadn't done anything. We hadn't given her anything down the throat. Like, so I was so confused. They asked me if they could scope her. I said yes, because what if there was a foreign object and they can't see that on x-ray? So I allowed them to scope her. Nothing. It was just swollen. So nothing was seen other than swelling. And they ended up, when they were scoping her, she started to crash on them. And so they trached her. So they put a trach into her and tried to get her to breathe in that manner. She did, and they were able to give her some medicine, and because she almost crashed on them, they gave her epi and atropine. She responded really well, and but they came out and they just were like, we're just going to give her fluids and see what happens. You know, she'll be here till Monday. This was Saturday, and I was okay with it. You know, I went and paid the deposit of a huge amount of cost that it was going to be, and we left. By the time I pulled into my driveway, well, they did ask, you know, what do you want us to do, you know, if she crashes again. She's pregnant, heavily pregnant. She's likely going to lose those kids. You can't keep a goat alive that doesn't want to stay alive. Believe me, I've tried. And so I explained that don't do that again. Like, if she goes, let her go, because what is her outcome going to be in reality, you know? So by the time I pulled in our driveway, when we got home, they called me to tell me that Sheila had passed. And so, of course, we took that pretty hard. Caden was home by then, and I had to explain to him that his doe passed. And that day, we just spent the day out here, of course, with the goats, because that's what we do. We were working over them, and we did do a necropsy. This is why it's taken me so long to do this video, because I didn't want to come on here and say, well, we don't know what the necropsy results were. The preliminary showed, and I got a phone call saying it was anaphylaxis. It is rare in goats. They do not know what she reacted to. They have no idea. The necropsy, they thought maybe on tissues they could find it and see what she reacted to, and they didn't. So her passing is a complete mystery. We don't know anything what could possibly have happened, but we do know she did die of anaphylaxis. The things that she ate the night before were things she had always eaten. The field was not brand new to her. She had been in that field for 22 days, you know. The hay, everything around her, nothing was new. And so we don't know if it was some sort of bee sting, spider bite, ant, weird thing. It wasn't, I mean, there was no swelling. It's hard to think there was a snake, you know. but we just don't know. And so not knowing, of course, stresses a breeder out to no end, because whatever it is that killed her, we would like to know what it was so we can remove it and not have that risk again. But that's not reality. So we will be sadly going into the goat show season without our beloved Sheila. So it, like I said, it was, losing Lily was traumatic and losing Irma was sad. This was an incredible blow to our herd. Kaden had big, huge hopes of finishing her, like, you know, on paper, getting to show her again, you know, and then do champion challenges with her after she was finished. Things like that. You know, those are the things you dream of, you know, when you breed goats. We thought, oh, if, you know, she finishes, we can, you know, breed her for the fall and have fall kids and just things like that. We had plans. And so those are completely at a dead stop. And, but life does go on, and we do have her daughters. And so we have Hill Valley Dancing Daisy and Hill Valley A Fortissimo. And, we're so grateful for those daughters, and not to mention her sire. So that is the story on Sheila. And so thank you so much for watching. Next time, I promise it won't be such a sad video. But I did want to explain and tell you about how we did lose one of the most beautiful girls in our herd. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until I see you again, I hope you have an awesome goat-filled day.